financing related technical assistance to local governments for municipal infrastructure projects, and that is primarily water, drinking water and wastewater are the largest areas that we work in. Craig mentioned the $11 billion of estimated needs over the next 20 years in those areas. That includes new treatment plants and other related things that probably aren't the focus of your interest, but it probably by itself, at least half, if not more, of the total needs are replacing old pipes, water main, sewer, arc interceptors, all of that underground infrastructure. The governor's proposal, as Craig mentioned, bonding recommendations proposed a large increase in the funding for PFA programs, recognizing that these are incredibly expensive projects for cities to do, and cities have been very clear that they need more help. The assistance that we provide is the largest share of the funds that we do are through low-interest revolving loan programs. There's also a grant programs primarily targeted based on affordability criteria. And those are primarily directed to smaller communities that don't have the economy of scale, the number of households to support the fixed costs of replacing those aging infrastructure. We do approximately $200 million a year in loans and grants. As I said, probably roughly half of that is replacing underground infrastructure. The loan funds are broadly available to cities, big and small, throughout the state. The grant funds, as I mentioned, are more targeted. The lists, so the way all of our funding operates based on priority lists that are developed by criteria from the Pollution Control Agency in the case of wastewater, sanitary sewer projects, and the health department for the drinking water projects, including the water main replacement. Projects are prioritized based on public health and environmental criteria, as well as the age and condition of the existing infrastructure. And they've got in their rules kind of objective criteria. It's a pretty solid process that cities can apply once a year. They provide the information to do the scoring, and then the PCA and the health department put together their priority lists ranked 1 through roughly 300 on each list. So that's the first step of the process. The lists are generally considered to be about a 5-year window or picture of projects that cities are planning for and intending to move to construction within a 5-year period. Some projects go fairly quickly, others take quite a long time, and there's a variety of reasons that projects might get delayed and stretch out. For us on the funding side, we take that priority list and once a year receive more specific proposals from cities when they say, okay, we have a project on the list that we are scheduling for construction in the next fiscal year, and that becomes a lot of this is, or some of this anyway, is federal money, and the federal term for it is intended use plan. It's the list of who we intend to fund over the course of the next fiscal year. To get on that list, on the sewer side, a city has to have completed what PCA calls a facilities plan, which is the preliminary pre-design of looking at what's the problem, what are the alternatives, what's the specific project, the specific site, the route for the area of town where the sewer pipes will be replaced, whatever it is. The drinking water side doesn't have quite that same formal facilities planning document, but it's sort of a similar process. The facility plan does require a public notice. That's one of the things before PCA will approve that facilities plan. It goes through a public notice process. So that has typically been used to make sure that, of course, everybody in the city knows what the plan is, but also neighboring cities. If there are issues of coordination and regionalization, we want everybody in the area to be aware of that proposed project and the city's plans. So once that's done, they can get on, they apply to get on our intended use plan, and we determine annually based on the requests that are received and the funding that's available, how far down, we call it the fundable range, how far down of the projects that are going to be ready, or at least plan to be ready this year, how far down that list can we go, and there's basically draw a line. That fundable range, it's different between the loans and the grants to some extent, because the loans, it's a revolving loan fund, and we know each year, or we know long-term what our annual lending capacity is within those revolving funds. Approximately $100 million a year for the wastewater side and about $40 million a year for drinking water. So we can pretty accurately, and we work hard to communicate this to cities, that if you're at a certain point, basically the top half, even maybe the top 2/3 of the priority list, you can count on the low interest loan money being available when your project is ready to go. And so if a project is delayed from one year to the next, which does happen fairly often, at least the city knows the loan money, they're probably not going to lose out on loan money, unless they're kind of right down lower priorities that are right on the bubble. We can't always promise it, but it's fairly predictable. The grant money, and Craig was talking about this, your question, the grant money is appropriated by the state. It's called the biggest program is the State Wastewater Infrastructure Fund. Part of our proposal this year is to change that to Water Infrastructure Fund and expand those affordability grants to drinking water as well. That also follows the priority list, but in addition, it is very much dependent on readiness to proceed, because there are so many projects, so many small cities that need that money. And if what we do is we, based on the priority order and how much money we have, once a city submits the actual design plans and specs and gets certified by the PCA or the health department, then that money's reserved. We know that at that point there's the bidding process and a few other steps, but for the most part that project is then locked in. But if something gets hung up, either there's a design issue or an issue within the city of, they have to raise rates to do the project, and that sometimes creates some multiple meetings to talk that through, and it could delay a project. There's other issues, environmental review perhaps. If a city can't get that approval, we're going to have to move on with the grant money to another city that's got a project ready to go. Now the city stays in its place on the priority list, and they can come back and apply the following year, but the grant money is much more, it obviously depends dependent on state appropriations and less predictable from year to year.
I'm curious about the age of